What is going on, guys? It's your boy Jay Shane, the Keto Road, here for a special edition. We're on the podcast and we're on YouTube. So what's going on YouTube? I'm going to be looking at you, talking through the mic. I hope you're all having a great day, guys. If you want to watch this as a video, go to YouTube, the Keto Road. If you want to listen to this on a podcast, go to the Road Podcast. We'd love your support. Go give me a rating. Go talk about it. I'm on Apple Podcasts everywhere. You also go to my website and you'll find it there. I'm super excited about this video, guys. We're going to be talking about keto or carnivore. Which is better? Kind of my opinion. It's World Carnivore Month. I'm kind of treading back into those carnivore waters. I'm not doing a lion diet, which is basically just beef, salt, and water. Definitely allowing myself coffee, some dairy, and some sweeteners. But I thought it'd be a great time to talk about it. My opinion on the two. I don't feel like I've ever really portrayed it in an articulated way. Just kind of elaborating on some things and some nuances of it, of why I feel one or the other is better than the other. So I'm excited for this video to get into it. Before that, though, real quick. So as you know, on my last podcast, I don't know if I've said this on the YouTube channel yet, but though I do have new coaching structures. Going into 2021, we decided to bring a holistic health program. So the way we have it is we have the basic weight training program, weight management program. That's for anybody that just wants to lose weight month to month, wants to work with me. Then you have the holistic health program. This program is not designed for you to be on it for a year. It's designed for you to be on it for 2-3 months. It's designed to help you establish strong nutrition foundations and strong mindset foundations to give you overall holistic health and an empowered ability to walk through life on your own. Now, some people just want the mindset. Some people have nutrition down, which is understandable in the space we're in. So I have created a Mindset Maker program. This program is the mindset portion of the holistic health program. It is just us working on your mindset. So if you struggle with eating disorders, body dysmorphia, any of that, and you're trying to balance that with your healthy lifestyle, that is your program. I would love to work with you. So go check that out, www.theketoroad.com. Go to coaching, go to Coach John. All my programs are there. Check them out. Let me know what you think. All right, so to get into the podcast / video. So, keto carnivore. There's a lot of things, a lot of questions that arise with these two diets, as in which one's better for humans, ancestrally, all that. So I kind of want to break down some of those things. But let me first off start by preferencing that at the end of the day, we are all bio-individuals. And what you need is not what somebody else needs. The last thing I want you to do is to develop what I would consider poser syndrome, which a lot of us have, is where we see somebody, some influencer, could be me, could be any other influencer, think of a name, and a lot of people will see them being successful at something and go, that's what I need to do. No, that is not what you need to do. That's what they did worked for them. You need to listen to them, take some advice from them, also take some advice from everybody else, and then put it together and figure out exactly what works for you. This does take time. Sometimes you need coaching for direction in these things. But once you figure it out, you're doing what's best for you. And that's when you really start to see the results that you want to see. Okay? So understand that is important. It's important that you are a bio-individual, that you do not develop poser syndrome. Okay? So just because carnivore works for Dr. Sean Baker does not mean that eating only steaks and butter is going to work for you. We are all different. All right? So, from like an ancestral standpoint, is keto or carnivore more exact? And the answer is dependent on nation, right? Even keto, right? Like we look at Asian countries and keto was not their diet. They ate moderate carbohydrates, 200 grams a day. The difference was that they consumed a lot of healthy fats and proteins, a lot of fresh fish. A lot of their foods were cooked properly. They also really were good at focusing on digestion. They wouldn't drink while they ate, and then after they ate, they would drink a hot tea to wash everything down. Keeps food from getting cold, aids in digestion. These guys knew what was up when it came to eating properly. So there's a lot of other nuances in that. But Asian countries were not keto. We have some of the northern countries that were cyclic, right? Like during the springs and the summers, they would have some fruit, but they would hunt a lot. They would have a lot of meat. And then during the winter times, they would have whatever meat they stored for winter, and grains and potatoes. So they kind of cycled through those. Other people, like the Inuits, did not eat really any vegetables at all. They were strictly meat and fat eaters. And then you have people like the Comanche Indians that they had berries and stuff and foraged as they hunted, but they ate primarily meat as well. So we kind of see, from an ancestral standpoint, for us to just say that keto or carnivore is the best diet, we really don't know that from like a broad worldwide view, right? We can kind of pinpoint certain nationalities and groups of individuals and say, okay, they survived really well on a meat-only based diet. But we can't say that for the entire world. Does that mean that you shouldn't do keto or carnivore? No. But what I want you to get from that is that if someone says that carnivore is the way humans are supposed to eat, I don't agree with that. We don't have enough evidence to say that humans should only eat meat. That doesn't mean that there's not people that can't do it, and that does not mean that it's not unhealthy, okay? Remember, we're talking about bioindividuality here. What I'm saying is, like, if somebody else eats steak and butter and they have beautiful health markers, they're beautiful. That's great. It's amazing. Makes sense. Meat is very bioavailable. It has all the nutrients that you'll ever need in it. It's an amazing thing. But for other humans, depending on sport, gender, hormones, all that jazz, it might not be what's best for you, right? Genetics come into play. There's so many things. Like, I know that certain foods don't impact my blood sugar like they might do yours, and vice versa, right? We're all individuals. We all have to figure out what works best for us. So going based off of just an ancestral palate kind of thing, I do not think that is wise. I don't think that makes sense. So I would definitely refrain from doing that. So now let's kind of look at it from like a nutritional standpoint. So a lot of people talk about plants being unhealthy. So here are my thoughts on that. Some of the science makes sense. Actually, a lot of the science makes sense. Plants obviously don't have claws and nails and stuff like that. So they had to develop other defense mechanisms to stop predators from preying on them, right? To ward off predators and insects and such from eating certain parts of the plant. So things like stalks and things like that obviously tend to have a little bit more of toxic things in it. Now, does that mean that humans for generations didn't eat them before now? Because I think what often happens is we don't just blame vegetable oils for bad health. We also blame vegetables in general now for bad health. But the truth is that hunter-gatherers still ate plants. They still ate the stalks. They still ate plants. They might have eaten more fruits and offspring of the plant, which we'll get into, but they still ate plants. The difference, I think, was in preparation. They fermented, they soaked, they boiled, they cooked. They did not eat a lot of raw things. They tried to cook out a lot of those things. Also, when they ate them with a healthy fat, generally an acid, right? Because they fermented and pickled things. So you had acids breaking down the cell walls. You had fatty acids helping with the fat-soluble vitamins. You just had an overall better prepared food, which is going to aid in digestion and make it much easier to eat that food. So I do not think that our ancestors just, broccoli and cauliflower didn't exist back then, which is something to think about. I think about that often. But other plants, I don't see them just going, oh, I shouldn't eat that. They probably took it all, chopped it up, fermented it, whatever. Now, do they do it all the time? No, I definitely think it would make more sense for a gatherer to not really go for the whole plant. They're obviously going to pluck because they want more food later. They were smart. They understood that, okay, if I rip this whole thing out of the ground, I'm not going to get a harvest next year. But if I simply pluck the fruit, there might be a chance that the plant survives and I get more fruit next year. So it's like okay, instead of taking the whole pie, I'm going to take one slice and hopefully the pie recreates that slice. It's better to have one slice every year than have the whole pie one year, right? So that makes sense from like a logical standpoint, practical standpoint. And then we look at it from a nutritional standpoint. We know that the seeds and the offspring of the plant, if you will, the fruit that's bared tends to be way less toxic, kind of like the plant wants us to eat it, because he wants us to take that away from it so that it can go and plant it somewhere else. That seed can be fertilized, can be put in the ground, and can reproduce. So they obviously make the fruit a lot more attractive. So we have things like berries, things like avocado, things that are grown from the plant to help produce offspring, things that have seeds. Now, are the seeds toxic? They can be. Why? Because it wants you to eat the outside of it and leave the seed to be planted. So that kind of makes sense, again, from a logical, practical standpoint. So the way I kind of deal with it is like, from what I understand, is like zucchini, cucumbers, avocado, berries, things like that I enjoy on a ketogenic diet. And I think that they're totally fine to do. Now, should you eat carnivore, right? Should you eat meat? That's really the answer, right? We understand plants now. I hope we do. If we not, please feel free to DM me or email me with any questions that you might have. But now the question is, okay, but where does meat come into this? Where does meat come into the play here? We have to understand that there is no civilization ever that did not eat meat and was completely healthy. In fact, I was reading a book when I was in school called Nutritional and Degenerative Health. That might not be the name of it, but it was from Dr. Weston Price. Dr. Weston Price was a dentist, and he went around looking at the correlation between diet and tooth decay and tooth abnormalities. And what he found was that when you had two colonies of the same kind of country, but one was eating a more primitive diet and the other one was eating a Western diet, the difference in terms of jaw deformities and cavities, it was crazy. It was crazy. Very obvious that the diet was contributing to not just cavities, but like literally deformities from birth. Like the way that it was impacting the way the mother ate impacted the child. Very powerful stuff. And what he said, and this is important to note, he said, consequently, he never found a single tribe or civilization that was 100% healthy on a 100% vegan diet. They all ate meat of some kind. Super important. Bioavailable B vitamins, which are important for gut functioning, stomach acid. So many things vitamin Bs play a role in. Super bioavailable in meat. Not very feasible or findable in plants. Again, iron. Iron is found heavily in things like spinach and stuff, but the form of it is not near as bioavailable as the iron that you're going to find in meat. So there are nutrients, there are proteins, there are things in meat that we just cannot get from plants. Big rule of thumb for me here, and I think this is a good takeaway too for like kind of like wrapping this whole thing up. I'm not wrapping it up yet, but this is kind of a thing to think about as we keep going. If your diet makes you have to take supplements, it is not the right diet. You should not in good conscience have to take any supplements to keep the diet going. If you have to take synthetic B vitamins and synthetic this and synthetic that, like you actually need to do that. I'm talking about like vitamin C. I take vitamin C because it's a good antioxidant for my running. But if I wasn't running all the time, I would not be taking vitamin C. I get enough of it from meat. Yes, you get vitamin C from meat, believe it or not. But my thing is like, if you have to supplement, then it's not the diet for you. You should be able to eat a whole food diet. With 500, 600 years ago, people forget that. Like 500, 600 years ago, like humans didn't need potassium powder, right? They just ate avocados and other potassium-bearing fruits and vegetables, and they ate a lot of meat. Meat is loaded with potassium. Loaded with potassium. 350 to 400 milligrams per 4 ounces. You eat a pound of beef, and that is 1,200 milligrams of potassium. You eat a pound of beef, which is roughly 1,000 calories, plus 2 avocados in a day, and you've hit your potassium goals. Salt those bad boys, you're there. That's how it should be. I get it when we're losing weight, we're trying to like calculate macros and stuff, but when it comes to like making this a lifestyle, you should be able to eat the way you eat and not supplement at all. If you have to supplement with something, then you're not eating the right diet for you. I totally believe that. Now, don't get me wrong, let me preference. They're obviously due to genetics and genetic disposition, basically like corrupted genetics and DNA from past generations up to you, that lead to hormonal imbalances that need supplements. And it's great that we live in a world where you can get that. Totally agree. I'm talking strictly from a dietary standpoint. If you're eating something and you need to supplement some type of vitamin, then you're not eating the right foods. And again, there are situations where, like, due to genetic disposition, you can't absorb iron very well. So you have to supplement. You have to overdose with iron so that you get enough. Totally get that. I'm not attacking those people. But I hope you understand the general rule of thumb I'm trying to produce here. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. So meat's definitely needed in the diet, but I do not think you have to ward off veggies. However, some people that works, and that's great. But you need to figure out what works for you. And if you're somebody that eats plants right now, and you switch to carnivore because you don't feel like it's working, and carnivore makes you feel just as bad as that did, then I encourage you to get off carnivore and find a version of keto, carnivore, paleo-ish, skisk diet that fits your needs. Get with a coach. I've worked with many people that a Paleolithic ketogenic diet will basically, that's like targeting like root vegetables around workouts, and then the rest of the time keeping it ketogenic but still staying off of dairy. Very beneficial. Very beneficial. Other people, 80-20. 80% fat, 20% protein. Very beneficial. It's all about finding what works best for you, and you have to be okay with pushing past the poser syndrome and not looking at just one person, not just listening to me right now. Go to Google, go research these things, make an informed decision, and then do what you need to do, and formulate a plan that works best for you. I totally think that's the way to go, 100%. So now we get into macros. Now again, bio-individual. Macros are bio-individual, okay? Bottom line. Now, what to do? So the way I like to do it is, let's say you want to try carnivore. If you are eating proteins, fats, and carbs, the best way to switch to carnivore is to simply take your carbs and add them to your protein. This is going to raise up your protein, but the fact that you're even lower carb makes it to where any chance of gluconeogenesis increasing a little bit, which is the process of our body turning proteins and lactate and glycerol into sugar from backbones of fatty acids, the chances of that increasing and impacting our ketosis levels, our ability to burn ketones as fuel, slim to none. I wouldn't worry about it. Anybody that does carnivore generally can tolerate a way higher protein percentage than when they're also introducing carbs, because of the way it impacts our fat ratios. So just take your carbs, add them to your protein, be done with it. That's the simple transition. If you're doing carnivore, I would definitely simply take 20 grams of your protein, or you can do 5 grams of your fat, 10 grams of your protein, roughly same calories, and then add that back to your carbs. And then you can just try that. Try it for a week. A week to 2 weeks is plenty of time. If you do not feel amazing after 2 weeks, it's not working. I really agree with that from a nutritional standpoint. Now, if you have underlying hormone issues, that's different. If you have hypothyroidism and you feel like crap and you go to carnivore and you still feel like crap, that doesn't necessarily mean that the carnivore diet is bad. You have underlying issues you need to address. The hypothyroidism, I don't know if you should do the carnivore. Judy Chow, one of my really good friends, we're both nutritional therapist practitioners. She has a book called The Carnivore Cure. Definitely worth checking out. Wanted to show it to everybody on the YouTube. Carnivore Cure, amazing book. She definitely talks about thyroid and things like that in the book. I have found with hypothyroidism, including some carbohydrates is great. Like, I know people that do like targeted carnivore, where they have carbs like in the form of honey or sweet potato, intra, mid, or post workout, and then they're carnivore the rest of the day. That works really well for them. So you see what I'm saying? Like, bio-individuality matters, and figuring out your macros matters, but don't cling to a diet because somebody else says it's good, but it makes you feel like garbage. You need to do what's best for you. Do not have poser syndrome. Know who you are and chase that thing. So those are kind of my thoughts on carnivore and keto. So again, just a quick recap. Meat, I feel like, is a very essential part of the diet. Now, whether it needs to be the only part of your diet or not completely depends on bio-individuality, genetics, genetic disposition, all those things. A diet that you have to supplement. Sorry, I totally had a brain fart because my camera died. But that doesn't mean that if you have to take things for hormones and stuff, you're in the wrong, right? All right, guys, that's it for this video, though, or in this podcast. I love y'all. Thank you for coming. Let me know what else you all want to talk about. What do you all want to hear about? All that good stuff. I love you guys. Till next time.